Welcome to another episode of Quick Bites, the show where we try to get through as much restaurant industry news as possible in as little time as possible. I'm Sam Oches, editor-in-chief of Nation's Restaurant News. He's Jonathan Mays, editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business. Jonathan, it's been a minute, but we got a lot of news to cover.
Yes, we do. It's a very scary episode of Quick Bites this week.
A very spooky episode of Quick Bites. And before we get into it, a quick word from our sponsor, Tabasco.
Blind taste tests prove it. Tabasco Salsa Picante wins. The superior Mexican-style hot sauce.
All right, Jonathan, let's jump into it. Let's talk about earnings calls, which have been going on this week. One company that could use a little bit of good news is Starbucks. Starbucks has endured 6 straight quarters of same-store sales declines, and it may have gotten that good news. It reported that in its most recent quarter, its sales were up by 1%. Brian Niccol is claiming victory over his Back to Starbucks plan. Do we think this is a victory, Jonathan?
It doesn't matter, Sam. Little wins. That's what matters. So, I mean, the thing is, like, what is Brian going to say on something like that? Is he going to just say, oh, no, it's just this false positive. Just ignore it. Everything sucks. He's not going to say that. His job is to rally the troops and to look at every positive thing that he can. And then get investors on board, and that's a big part of his job. And frankly, on top of that, they are seeing improvement. This is the best result that they've had in 7 quarters. They are doing things, to me, the right way. They are focusing heavily on service. So they saw numbers go up in September and in October, which they normally don't talk about very much. Which was based on their new service model, in which they added more people into their coffee shops, and the service improvements, led to better sales, particularly in the morning. So yeah, I generally agree with him, but it's a moot point. His job is to rally the troops.
I've said it once, Jonathan, I'll say it again. I do not envy CEOs of restaurant companies today, because anything they do in this economic climate, I mean, they may be printing gold and it still is not going to resonate with customers today who are pulling back on their spend. So yes, I mean, I agree with you that he's got to say the positive stuff. He is saying the positive stuff, but there's a lot that Starbucks really needs to think about. One of those things is domestic business. A lot of the positive results actually came from their international business in China, which they're looking to offload. Domestic business was in fact flat. So clearly there's something here in the US that is not resonating with customers for Starbucks. And I think that could be the competition and also what US customers are looking for in their Starbucks experience. Some Placer AI data that was reported in Bloomberg, Jonathan, showed that 40% of customers at Starbucks in 2023 stayed there for longer than 10 minutes. That's down to 33% today. I find that really interesting for a company that's really touting its investments in the place and wanting people to come and stay a while. They need to embrace that coffee drive-through that is surging today.
Yeah, I might not envy having to go in front of public company, in front of public investors, but I do envy their paychecks.
Indeed.
Now, while Starbucks has been fighting for sales, Sam, Chili's is not fighting for sales. They did 21.4% same-store sales last quarter. Sam, how on earth can they keep this up?
I mean, I would have said that they were going to come back down to earth in this most recent quarter, because if you look at the same quarter a year ago, their same-store sales were up 14.1%. So they are lapping 14.1% on top of that, adding this 20+%. These are results that are really kind of unprecedented. And I think you've just got to give so much credit to Kevin Hochman, CEO. He put in place that turnaround plan in 2022. It was a 3-year plan, so it's come to its conclusion. Holy smokes, did it work? I mean, another number to look at, Jonathan, is that AUVs went from $3.1 million per restaurant to $4.5 million per restaurant. And the fact of the matter is, this is all working because they are reinvesting that money into the business, because their profitability actually went from 11% to 17%, which I would have expected to be higher considering those AUV numbers. But again, they're putting it back into the business. One number to look at, they are spending $160 million more now in labor than they were 3 years ago. So what they're doing is they're improving all assets of their business in order to get it to this place. Jonathan, what do you think is working for Chili's?
Well, it goes back to some of the same things that Brian Niccol's working on at Starbucks. They're doing things the right way. They focused first on operations. They spent on operations, and then they backed it up with marketing. So when they hit on social media last year, that helped drive all of these Gen Zers into their restaurants. Chili's was ready to handle it, and they've been able to lap double digits with more double digits, which is exceedingly rare, and it is completely unprecedented for a casual dining chain. I mean, if you look on a 2-year basis, they're slowing down somewhat. That's one of the notable things about last quarter. I will also say that it's really hard to keep up this level of enthusiasm. But frankly, where the big test is going to be is the next 2 quarters, when they're going to be lapping 30% plus numbers from a year ago. That's going to be the real test. They should be able to do it. But if they do double digits next quarter, I'm putting up a gold statue of Kevin Hochman.
We may need to do that anyway. I will tell you, one way or another, Jonathan, companies come back down to earth. You can ask Chipotle about that, because a decade ago, I think we were asking the same thing about Chipotle. Will they ever come down to earth? Well, they did. They have. They are still there now. Chipotle, they reported that their same-store sales were up only 0.3% in the most recent quarter. This is a brand that could really use a win. What's going wrong at Chipotle today, Jonathan?
That's a question roughly everybody is asking. Their investors are asking this question. It is fascinating. And this is really unusual. What's every restaurant chain goes through a period like this. Chick-fil-A probably, if they were publicly traded, we probably would ask those questions about Chick-fil-A last year. So every chain goes through this at some point, but Chipotle, until this point, had never really, they had just blown through almost every single major issue except for E. coli, since their start. I think there's 2 things. One thing, I think really this is Chipotle to a certain extent is paying the penalty for their portion sizes issue last year. And, consumers are really value focused, so they want something for their money. But that said, Chipotle is the, from a calories per dollar spent standpoint, is the best value in fast food. And they don't do a good enough job marketing that. They actually are a real good value, but right now consumers aren't getting it. What about you, Sam? What do you think?
Well, I totally agree with that last point there. They're not marketing value enough. Scott Boatwright, CEO, says that is definitely the thing they're going to try to focus on, is showing consumers that they are a good value. There was a statistic that showed that 40% of Chipotle's customers are in household incomes of less than $100,000, right? So they actually do thrive on more lower income consumers, and that is exactly the consumer that's pulling back on spend right now. So that really seems to be the entire problem. And Scott Boatwright said in announcing their results that they don't think these people are cutting Chipotle out entirely. They're just eating at Chipotle less. And so what they have to do is, to your point, communicate that value to the lower income consumers and show them why Chipotle is a value and that they should keep coming back as much as they used to. Now, if there's some sign of optimism, it's that there is some data that recently showed that Gen Z customers expect to spend more at fast casual and casual dining brands in the coming years. Chipotle could really take advantage of that in the coming years. And like any other brand, as we said, they go through these lulls, but they tend to come back around eventually. That's all the time we have for Quick Bites. I'm Sam Oches, Editor-in-Chief of Nation's Restaurant News. He's Jonathan Mays, Editor-in-Chief of Restaurant Business. We'll talk to you next time.